On October 18, 2025, the U.S. Supreme Court issued a landmark 6-3 decision that would send shockwaves through the nation's political and economic landscape. In a historic move, the court struck down President Trump's sweeping tariffs, which had been at the center of heated debate for months. The justices ruled that the president had overstepped his authority by invoking emergency powers to impose what amounted to a massive tax on imports, a power that, according to the Constitution, is reserved for Congress alone. This wasn't just about trade policy. It was a defining moment for the separation of powers, reinforcing the checks and balances at the heart of American democracy. The decision immediately ended months of economic uncertainty, as businesses and families across the country struggled with rising prices on everyday goods, from groceries to electronics. With the extra taxes on imports now declared illegal, relief swept through communities, offering hope to consumers and companies who had been feeling the pinch. The majority opinion, written by the Chief Justice, drew a sharp and unmistakable line. While the president can regulate foreign commerce, only Congress has the constitutional authority to levy taxes. By bypassing Congress, the administration had crossed a constitutional line, raising fundamental questions about the limits of executive power. The ruling reaffirms that even in times of crisis or uncertainty, the president must stay within legal boundaries set by the Constitution and respect the role of Congress. For millions of Americans, this isn't just legal theory. It means lower prices, a more stable economy, and renewed confidence in the rule of law. The decision stands as a powerful check on executive overreach, ensuring that major economic policies must go through Congress, and reminding the nation that no one is above the law. The 2025 tariffs began soon after President Trump's second term started, marking a dramatic shift in U.S. trade policy and signaling a new era of economic confrontation. The administration cited a border crisis and national security threats as the main reasons for these sweeping measures, arguing that urgent action was needed to protect American interests. In response, the administration declared a state of emergency, invoking the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, or IEEPA, to bypass Congress and impose tariffs unilaterally, a move that drew immediate legal and political scrutiny. A sweeping 25% tariff was slapped on nearly all goods coming from Mexico and Canada, disrupting long-standing trade relationships with America's closest neighbors. At the same time, a 20% tariff targeted Chinese imports, escalating tensions with the world's second-largest economy and intensifying the ongoing trade dispute. Canadian energy products, including oil and natural gas, faced a 10% tariff, which the administration justified as a step toward promoting U.S. energy independence and reducing reliance on foreign resources. These aggressive moves sent shockwaves through global supply chains, causing confusion and sparking immediate controversy among trading partners, business leaders, and policymakers worldwide. By April, a blanket 10% tariff was imposed on almost all imports, transforming what began as targeted measures into a sweeping global trade barrier that affected nearly every product entering the U.S. Plans to raise tariffs on Chinese goods to an unprecedented 145%, alarmed economists, who warned that such drastic increases could trigger a global recession and destabilize financial markets. The tariffs soon extended to products from 57 countries, impacting every sector of the U.S. economy, from manufacturing and agriculture to retail and technology. Prices rose sharply on everything from electronics to groceries, leaving no American household or business untouched by the sweeping effects of the trade war. The tariffs' economic impact was immediate and severe. Small and medium businesses faced a tough choice: absorb higher costs or pass them to customers. Economists estimated the tariffs cost the average U.S. household an extra $2,800 per year. Prices rose on essentials, groceries, gas, electronics, straining family budgets. Small businesses called it the largest peacetime tax increase in U.S. history, projecting a $3 trillion burden over a decade. Retaliatory tariffs from other countries hit U.S. exports, hurting farmers and manufacturers. Trade relationships soured, and global instability grew. Businesses delayed investments and hiring, while the stock market swung wildly with each new tariff announcement. The uncertainty threatened both corporate profits and Americans' retirement savings. The tariffs revealed how quickly protectionist policies can disrupt the global economy. The legal fight was spearheaded by small and medium-sized businesses who suddenly faced millions of dollars in unexpected new costs that threatened their very survival. Many of these business owners had never imagined they'd be at the center of a national legal battle, but the stakes left them no choice. They joined forces with states like Oregon, uniting their voices to argue that the president had overstepped, usurping Congress's constitutional authority to impose taxes and fundamentally alter economic policy. The lawsuit contended that the president had exceeded his powers under the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, or IEEPA, and in doing so, violated the separation of powers at the heart of the Constitution. The case moved rapidly through the federal courts, a sign of just how urgent and far-reaching its implications were for businesses and government alike. Judges in both the Court of International Trade and the District Court ruled against the administration, finding that the president had overreached his legal authority and acted without proper congressional approval. The courts made it clear, the IEEPA was never intended to be a blank check for the executive branch to unilaterally remake economic policy or bypass Congress. The administration quickly appealed, but the Federal Circuit Court upheld the lower court's decisions, reinforcing the limits of presidential power. The appellate judges emphasized that only Congress, as the people's elected representatives, can authorize such sweeping and consequential economic actions. With the stakes now national and the outcome uncertain, the Supreme Court agreed to hear the case on an expedited basis, recognizing its profound constitutional significance. This set the stage for a historic constitutional showdown, one that would determine the balance of power between the branches of government and the future of American economic policy. The Supreme Court's majority opinion was clear: only Congress can tax. While tariffs can be a tool of foreign policy, these were, in effect, a massive tax on imports passed to consumers. The court invoked the major questions doctrine. Actions of vast economic significance require explicit congressional authorization. The IEEPA did not provide that authority for such sweeping tariffs. The justices distinguished between targeted trade measures and broad-based taxes. Past presidents used tariffs for specific issues. These tariffs were different in scale and intent. The court concluded this was taxation in disguise, infringing on congressional power. Dissenting justices argued the president acted within IEEPA's broad emergency powers, but the majority prevailed. The ruling sets a precedent, reinforcing the separation of powers and limiting executive use of emergency powers for major economic policies. The Supreme Court's ruling lifts the tariffs immediately, providing relief for businesses and consumers. Companies importing goods no longer face extra costs, freeing up capital for growth and hiring. The decision paves the way for more stable trade relationships with key partners. Consumers should see prices fall on a wide range of products, easing inflationary pressures. Businesses can seek refunds for billions paid in tariffs, injecting capital back into the economy. This money can help companies recover, invest, and create jobs. The ruling restores stability to global trade, rebuilding trust with partners like Canada and Mexico. While some disputes remain, the removal of sweeping tariffs allows for a reset. Renewed stability is crucial for industries relying on global supply chains and for a healthy world economy. The Supreme Court's decision is a defining moment for American constitutional law. It reasserts Congress's authority over taxing and spending, checking decades of expanding presidential power. The ruling sends a clear message: even in emergencies, the president's powers have limits. Transformative policies with huge economic impacts require explicit congressional consent. By invoking the major questions doctrine, the court makes it harder for presidents to use old laws for sweeping new policies. The decision strengthens the separation of powers, a cornerstone of American democracy. It affirms the rule of law. Not even the president is above the Constitution. The case, brought by ordinary business owners, shows the courts can check government overreach. Ultimately, the ruling restores balance between the president and Congress, fortifying the democratic process. It's a victory for the principle of government by laws, not by men.